everybody, welcome back to the Film Fanclub Show. This is our August 17th episode. I believe this is our 11th or 12th episode. We're getting up there in the podcasts. My name is Sam Carrico. I will be your host today. It's just me today. Usually I do this with a co-host, but I had been doing so many shows with co-hosts over the past few weeks that I just I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit back, relax, drink some coffee, and look at the movie news and talk about what's happened in the world of movies. So that's what we'll be doing. A quick housekeeping note, though. As you know, we usually do this podcast every Wednesday here on the channel, but before we started doing it as a podcast, we did do it as a live to tape show. With a visual aspect to it as well. I would co-host it with another person, and we'd actually have cameras and everything, and visuals. I'm considering doing that this year as I get ready for another year at Tulsa Technology Center. I will not be taking a television production course, but I still believe I'll have a good amount of access to a lot of the equipment that they have in the television production department there. So I'm hoping that I will be able to talk someone into running Switcher for me once a week. Or maybe they can, I can get someone each week to run Switcher for me, and maybe someone to co-host it and do it. We'll do it as a show, as a live to tape show with the visual element once again. But I'm rambling a little too much. Let's get into the box office, shall we? Let's talk about the weekend box office for the weekend of August 12th through the 14th of 2016. And coming in at number one, continuing to remain at number one, is Suicide Squad, bringing in an additional $43 million with a 67% drop from last week. On a $175 million budget, it has made a total gross of $222 million. Sausage Party came in at number two. It is it and Pete's Dragon opened this week, and it to the number two and number three spots. Sausage Party at number two. It is, I believe, the largest R-rated animated opening of all time, with $34 million on its opening weekend on a budget of $19 million. There's a kind of, I didn't make it as one of the main topics, but there is as far as the production budget, you're like, oh, $19 million, that's relatively cheap. I heard they didn't pay their workers right, and they made them work long hours for no overtime, not even paid for those extra hours. So I heard that and then a lot of those people, those animators, did not even get credit on the film. So I heard that's how they kept their costs low, which kind of is discouraging for me as a person who, I also care about social issues and political issues and things like that. But in addition to being a movie fan, and I really wanted to see Sausage Party because it looked funny. But if that's how they're going to be treating the employees, if these are the people that are making the film, I can't go support a film that's not even going to support the people that made it. Number three is Pete's Dragon, the remake. It brought in $21 million for the number three spot in its opening weekend on a budget of $65 million. Jumping from number two to number four from last week is Jason Bourne. It was in the number second spot last week, and now it's in the number fourth spot, bringing in an additional $13 million. This is his third week in the theaters on a budget of $120 million. It is made over $127 million, so it could eventually get into the black, it looks like. Or into the clear, is what that means. And then number five is Bad Moms, the raunchy comedy with Mila Kunis and all those people. Brought an additional $11 million on a budget of $20 million and made $71 million so far. Bad Moms is doing just fine. So what's the major thing to me? Well, Sausage Party, it stood out. It brought in a lot of money this past weekend at the box office, especially for a R-rated animated film. That's a really weird market to try and mine from, and I think that they really were able to kind of reap the benefits of that void that they were able, that there's been, because that's not real. There's really not a lot of animated R-rated films for adults. So it's really interesting to see that the people that may have been clamoring for something like that, who have they want to see, they appreciate animation, but they want an adult tone to it. So they had Sausage Party, and so that was pretty cool. Suicide Squad had a 67% drop, and I have an article here that compares its second week run to a lot of other stuff. It's just under the 69% drop of Batman vs. Superman on its opening weekend. Other than that, Fantastic Four from last year, which Suicide Squad reminded me a lot of 2015's Fantastic Four, it suffered a 68% drop in its opening weekend, but or in its second weekend rather, excuse me. But for the opening weekend, Fantastic Four was like $25 million, and then the second weekend it was like $8 million, so it was like, that was just never gonna succeed in the first place. Suicide Squad had $133 million, and then went down to $43 million. Man of Steel had a similar drop at 64%. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 at 61%. I don't know if you notice a trend here. I love Man of Steel, okay, but a lot of people don't. So if you look at this trend, the movies that are more critically panned, that have more negative reviews for it, you could argue the films that aren't as good are the ones that suffer this huge drop off. Which it shows. There's a lot of these huge DC fan. I had to deal with one on Twitter this morning. There's a lot of DC fanboys who will devoutly stand by the most recent DC film that they saw and call whatever, insert X most recent DC film here, and they'll call it the best film of the world, the best film that they've ever seen, stuff like that. No matter what the film is, literally, it could just be any most recent DC film, anything. It could be, Ben Affleck taking a shit, and that's the most recent DC film. Oh my god, it's so fantastic, it's so good, oh my god, this blows the crap out of anything Marvel's ever done, oh my god. Why? It's the most recent DC film. That's why. These people are written their souls over to Time Warner, which is Hillary Clinton's largest donor, by the way. They've written over to Time Warner, and who also owns Rotten Tomatoes, and they just kind of just do whatever Time Warner tells them to do. So that's a little annoying. I don't know how I turned this back into Suicide Squad bashing on the film, but whatever. I didn't like it. Let's talk about Justice League, because Batman vs. Superman was a mess, but the Ultimate Edition cleared up some of that stuff, and it had enough in the film that made me excited for Justice League. Now, Henry Cavill, who, spoiler alert for Batman vs. Superman, died at the end of Batman vs. Superman. There wasn't really a break. I'm sorry if you didn't get to the pause button quick enough. So he died at the end of Batman vs. Superman, and so now they're doing the Death of Superman arc. As in the comics, there was a black suit whenever he came back with a mullet, black suit, and a beard. Now, on Instagram, I believe, Henry Cavill took to Instagram to post a really close-up shot of what appears to be the Superman logo, Superman costume, but it's all black. It's all dark and, black, essentially. Like the black suit, it looks like a close-up of the black-suited Spider-Man with a Superman flair to it. So this has got a lot of people wondering, are they going to be following that from the comics? Are they going to be taking inspiration from that and making this a darker suit for Superman? I don't know, firstly, if they're going to be doing that. I don't know what the comics did, as far as the tone and what Superman's character, how he was different when he came back to life. I don't know if he was a darker Superman, because I know in the Secret War, not Secret Wars, but maybe it was I don't know. In the Spider-Man 3, we'll go off the movies, stick to something I know. Whenever Spider-Man got the black suit, he became an evil character. Is that going to be what's happening with Superman? I don't know, because they haven't really specified that, and there hasn't been a movie adapted out of it yet. And I haven't done enough research. I guess I need to just do some research to figure that out. But it's one thing I'm questioning. My biggest concern, the reason I put this as a story here is because I just got to say, one thing I don't understand is a lot of these people now. DC fans are a little bit different because they, again, no matter what, if it's the most recent DC film, they love it. There's a lot of people, normal movie fans that just go into a film objectively and decide whether they like it or not. There's a lot of people who don't like this different version of Superman, who's darker, evil, destroys half of Metropolis, doesn't care about the casualties, all that stuff. This isn't my criticism. This is other people's criticisms that I've heard. I love Man of Steel. So people are wondering, this Superman's a little too dark. He's not really the, save a cat out of the tree, oh golly gee Lois kind of Superman. So now we're going to go into this Justice League. We haven't gotten that version of Superman with Henry Cavill being, what we think of as Superman. We haven't gotten that yet. So now they're going to go from moody Man of Steel to moody, grim, brooding Batman vs. Superman. Now to he's going to come back to life and be moody, grim, black-suited, bearded, mullet-sporting, dark, moody, grim Superman who's got a rough edge to him. And it's like, so you got to understand, to the general audience who hasn't seen that version of Superman that they liked since like 2006 when Superman Returns, and that wasn't a good movie. Allegedly, I haven't seen it. I need to watch it. I don't know if general audiences are going to be getting on board with a version of Superman that is continuing down that path of this is a dark, broody, grim Superman who has a rough edge to him. And it's, you know, I don't know if people are going to like that or people are going to be on board with that. Again, aside from huge diehard comic book fans who understand, no, this is what they're trying to do, regardless of how well the film actually pulls it off. And then there's, you know, the generic DC, not generic DC fans. Hopefully most DC fans have a brain, but then there's some corporate slaves who are like, you know, insert most random DC or most recent DC film here, and I love it. Let's move on though. Let's stop talking about DC, okay? Stop talking about it, Sam. You know, you love the Dark Knight trilogy, you love Man of Steel, you'll always have those. Love 89 Batman and Batman Returns, all that stuff. Can't wait for Justice League and Wonder Woman. Let's talk about Pennywise in the remake for It. Bill Skarsgård, I believe, is the guy who's going to be playing him, because it was going to be, oh gosh, what's that kid's name who was Will Poulter, I believe he was going to be playing Pennywise. I haven't seen It. It's a pop culture phenomenon, though, because there's been so many references to it in popular culture. My buddy Ricky, who I started the Film Fanclub Show with, he's a big fan of the TV movie, I guess is what it is, with Tim Curry. It's very influential on society, well, to a degree. And there's been the full reveal, courtesy of Entertainment Weekly, which usually has shitty pictures of everything. There's the full picture of Pennywise I'm looking at right now. This is a podcast, so you can't see it. And what do I think of it? Looks like a clown. Looks like a creepy clown. Now, one thing I've always thought about Pennywise was I've seen clips. You know, I've seen that scene of him in the sewer, and he's down there. He's like, "Hey, kid, come here, come on!" You know, trying to get the kid to trust him and jump on board with him. What kid is going to trust this clown? Okay, this is like the type of clown you see. Like, this is, I don't know. There's just something about this clown that I don't feel like could go either way. It's not like you see him from afar and you're like, oh, that's a cute little clown. Let me go, you know, get him for my birthday party or something like that. It's like, no, this is one of those creepy people that you see in like Green Bay, Gags the Clown, who's like dressing up to freak people out and scare them on purpose. This is the type of clown you run the hell away from. So I'm not sure that I'm buying into the whole, oh, this is a clown that turns out to be evil. It's like, no, this is an evil clown. Stay away from him. If you see him sticking his head out of the sewer, don't run, don't go to him, don't listen to him, don't even engage with him in conversation. Run away. So I don't know how believable that is, but again, it's a horror movie. Will I see this new version of It without having seen the original? Probably. I like to review modern films, so let's talk about the next story is about Han Solo, the young Han Solo spin-off, a Star Wars story. They have been casting for young Lando Calrissian, and they've been casting for a female, I don't know if it's a female lead or just a female character, but a female lead. But the female lead that they're looking for is a non-white actress. They're looking for, you know, I don't know if it's African American or just a non-white actress is what I know. So everybody is freaking out, saying, "Oh, remember in the comics?" Like a few months ago, whenever it was revealed that Han Solo had a quote-unquote wife, and then it was later revealed to be retconned, and that wasn't the case. Maybe they're gonna. This is like when they were casting a black actor in Spider-Man: Homecoming. It's like, oh my gosh, a non-white character. Let's think of the very limited amount of non-white characters that we know of in this largely dominated by white characters universe. Oh, it's one of these three characters. It must be. No, it's not. Just because they're looking for a non-white female lead does not mean it has to be the one non-white character that you know of. It can be, believe it or not, they can create new characters, guys. They can create new characters, and, believe it or not, they might actually start to make the Star Wars universe look really like a melting pot, like a reflection of what American culture is supposed to be, like a diverse universe where there's different that's what I liked about Guardians of the Galaxy. That's what I like about the Star Trek movies, is that you get into this galaxy and it really feels like there's a bunch of different, not only species, but ethnicities, different types of humans, different looking humans. They're not all, you know, they don't all look like Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher. So I'm really looking forward to see that they explore that, and hopefully, I really hope it's not the one non-white character that we know of that's a female in the Star Wars universe, because that would be boring. I want them to give me something new. Give me something interesting. If you're going to give me a Star Wars story that's a rehash of a character we've seen done 4 times already, then at least give me some new elements to this story. Don't go back and reference, this one obscure comic book storyline that came out a couple months ago. That the most exposure it got was the headlines that it made for a day. Like, I think you should do something just a little bit more original, interesting. Just something a little bit more interesting than that. Now I'm gonna get to who they're casting for Lando Calrissian. That's fine. I think you can do it. You should do Lando in a young Han Solo movie. It makes sense, I guess. Again, going back on what I said about originality, but Lando's, I believe, he was actually in the movies. So yeah, he definitely played a larger part in Han's history than this random, his quote-unquote wife from the comics. So, but who they're looking for to play Lando is Donald Glover, who was, again, I think he was rumored, or he might even be in the in the Spider-Man movie. He might have been the person I was thinking of when they cast him. They're like, oh, he's got to be Miles Morales. He's not Miles Morales. He's too old. Now he's being eyed for Lando, allegedly. Now this isn't one of those things where it's like, oh, a random white character or actor has been cast in it. It's not like he got cast in this and they're like, oh, he must be playing Lando. Because I'd be like, come on, guys, let's open our eyes a little bit. Let's maintain an open mind. But no, it's like, no, we're casting Lando and we're thinking about Donald Glover for this role. It's like, okay, well, I guess. That's how I feel about it. I guess. I've heard other people like Anthony Mackie as thrown out there. I think Anthony Mackie would work. I don't know if I can take Donald Glover seriously as a young Billy D. Williams. He looks so much like childish Gambino. Donald Glover, he's just that guy. If he was playing a character that, like a comic book character who has never been adapted to the big screen before, it makes sense. I could see it. Maybe I could get past Donald Glover, or Donald Glover could become what I see as the character. I don't know. This is Billy D. Williams. This is Lando Calrissian. They are synonymous with each other. So I don't necessarily see Donald Glover being able to fit that as easily as someone like Alden Ehrenreich, who's a blank slate, as I think he's a blank slate. He hasn't been in much. He's been in Hail Caesar, and that can easily be washed away by a good Han Solo movie, and if he does a good performance. So that's what I think about the young Lando Calrissian potentially being Donald Glover, and then the Han Solo movie casting a non-white female lead. Now, moving on to the World War Z sequel is the next story. And Brad Pitt, who is the producer and star in the World War Z, the first one, 2013 movie, which was directed by Mark Foster. And it was... I liked the first World War Z movie. It had largely, most of the third act was reshot, and I think they saved that film in doing so. And it was pretty forgettable for the most part, but I remember liking it. It's like one of those things that, I don't know. It's like I walked out of it and immediately went on with my life. But then I remember it's like, hey, World War Z, yeah, that was a fun movie. I'll see a sequel. So they're making a sequel. Brad Pitt wants David Fincher to direct it. I just gotta say, do it, man. Do it, David Fincher. Do it. I know he said he hasn't done he won't do any blockbuster sequels after, cutting his teeth on Alien 3, which I've heard hasn't been very good. I want to watch Alien 1 and 2, and then Prometheus as like a trilogy one time. See if that works for me, because I haven't seen any of them yet. But David Fincher said he doesn't want to do any big blockbuster sequels. What may change his mind? There's been some rumors that maybe Jason Inman on Collider Movie Talk, he's also from DC All Access, he said... he doesn't necessarily buy into the fact that they're doing that David Fincher might direct the film. He thinks that this is all just Brad Pitt maybe floating his name out there so that way, it's like, ooh, talents like David Fincher were involved in this project at one point, so it might get a slightly lesser but still good director to jump on board and be like, oh yeah, well, I'll do it then. If David Fincher was about to do it, I'll do it, and I'm like David Fincher. So it's, I can see the bait and switch there. Which do I buy into more? That David Fincher is going to direct it, or that they're doing the other option that has just been laid out for you? I believe in that other option probably, but either one, I think it's a great marketing ploy. Well, not marketing, but a good business strategy to try and, if you're trying to get a different director, but who's still good, but not exactly David Fincher. Who David Fincher has directed two of my favorite movies, Gone Girl and The Social Network, and three, I guess. Fight Club as well is a great movie. But I love The Social Network. That is one of my favorite movies of all time. The hashtag First 7 Films was trending on Twitter recently, and I had to include The Social Network in there because that's just one of my favorite movies. That is a fantastic film. You cannot. I saw that movie back in 2009 when it came out, and it blew my socks off. I can rewatch it anytime. I really like The Social Network, which I think made really paved the way for me to get it really on board with anything that David Fincher is doing. Actually, just to bring it up right here, I have the tweet. My fave 7 films is Birdman, The Dark Knight, X2, Spider-Man 2, The Social Network, The Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark, in no particular order. That was kind of hard for me to think of. I had to think of because I wanted to say the Dark Knight trilogy, the Star Wars trilogy, the Indiana Jones trilogy, but I couldn't, so I had to find a representative one. So Birdman, The Dark Knight, X2, Spider-Man 2, The Social Network, The Empire Strikes Back, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. In no particular order, those are my favorite 7 films. Hashtag fave 7 films. Let's move on from David Fincher directing World War Z to Captain Marvel. He's not directing that either, but what they have said is they're not going to be sticking to the origin story. Now, here is what someone said on the Anytime with Vin Forte, I don't know, an interview. It was during an interview. They said, I don't think I've ever had a project where I could have anyways, they're not going to stick to the and I think that's fine. I don't think they need I love how I was about to read you the full quote, then saw that it was too long, and then I was like, no. Well, they basically said her origin story is very similar to Green Lantern, so that's not what we want to do. There's a lot of reinvention that needs to happen. Also, she's her own person. She's a great character. We have to be aware of what's happened in the other film. So yeah, that makes sense. You got to change the origin story to be different from a DC popular character like Green Lantern, and you want to recognize the events that have happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. When they were making Ultron, and then they made Ant-Man, weirdly both in the same year, just in the opposite order that you would think they would. They had to change Hank Pym's origin story to meet the requirements that have been laid out by the shared cinematic universe. You can't just do willy-nilly, like force a story. Well, this is what the comics did. We got to do that. Bam, bam, bam. A lot of times, if you stick to the comics and ignore what else is happening in your cinematic universe and the actual plot that's in front of you, you get a mess like Batman vs Superman or Suicide Squad. Anyways, so yeah, I think this makes sense for the Captain Marvel thing, and they should definitely stick to it. And I can't wait to see what Marvel's done so far, or does next, because they've done some great stuff so far. So let's talk about some other stuff. Another movie I mentioned that Fantastic Four reminded me a little bit of Suicide Squad reminds me a little bit of Fantastic Four, which was a mess. They're both messes, kind of, to a larger degree. Fantastic Four is, but I was looking on Collider.com looking for which is where I get a lot of these stories, by the way. They do a great job of providing up to the minute news. I was looking at stories for today, saw some details about the original Fantastic Four script. So I'm just going to read you a couple quotes, and just like I read this morning, and I was like, wow, this sounds cool. They were going to go to the negative zone, where they would have fought Annihilus, described as a pissed-off cybernetic T-Rex, who would appear to kill Victor. The rest get zapped with radiation to return home, giving them their powers. Later, Victor returns from the negative zone, having killed Annihilus and reshaped his control rod into some sort of living body armor. And in addition to Annihilus in the negative zone, we would have had Dr. Doom declaring war on the civilized world. He would declare war against the civilized world. The Mole Man unleashing a 60-foot genetically engineered monster in downtown Manhattan. A commando raid on the Baxter Foundation. A Saving Private Ryan style finale, pitting our heroes against an army of Doombots in a war-torn Latveria, and this is the part that got me excited, a post-credits teaser featuring Galactus and Silver Surfer destroying an entire planet. We had monsters and aliens and fantastic cars and cute spherical Herbie robot that was basically a BB-8 2 years before BB-8 existed. And if you think all of that sounds great, yeah, the problem was it also would have been massively, massively expensive. Yes, that it sounds like the thing right there. Man, this all sounds great. This sounds great. I wish they could have done all this, man. And especially just to get the ground, you introduce the storylines, introduce Dr. Doom, you get that all out of the way, and then we could do what we never got in Rise of the Silver Surfer 10 years ago with a actual cool version of Galactus and Silver Surfer tearing shit up, going crazy. I thought that would be awesome, man. It's stories like this that you hear, and we might hear some stories like this about Suicide Squad in a year's time or so. But man, stories like this piss me off, because it's like, what could have been, you know, what could have been. This is like, Sam, what would you like to see in a Fantastic Four movie? Knowing, you know, very little you know about Fantastic Four. Here, let's pitch you this. You want to see it? Yeah! Give me this movie, man! It's unfortunate because now Fantastic Four, I feel like its best shot is with getting sent back to Marvel. So we'll see how that works. If it actually happens that way, if it doesn't happen that way. I don't know that it will. But I feel like the best shot we got for a Fantastic Four movie that's good right now. But who knows? I'm just paid off by Marvel, me and my 80 subscribers. So let's talk about what's opening this week. As we usually close out the show, we're going to talk about what's opening this week and whether or not I'm interested. 4 movies, it looks like, are opening this week in theaters, with War Dogs, starring Miles Teller and Jonah Hill, Ben-Hur, the remake of the classic film, Kubo and the Two Strings, the animated film, and Imperium, with Daniel Radcliffe playing a neo-Nazi CIA agent or something like that. Out of all of them, the movie me particularly I'm most interested in, based on the marketing I've seen and the plot, the way it all comes out to me, and the talent involved, I want to see War Dogs. That looks like a weird version, and especially what's going on today in the you know, politics, you know, campaign finance reform, all sorts of stuff like that. I want to see War Dogs, because that looks really interesting. The corruption behind the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan, all that stuff. And the Miles Teller, Jonah Hill, Todd Phillips, the director of the Hangover trilogy. It looks like this is a lot of comedy to it, but also has some interesting plot points and maybe something to say about society that we live in that Todd Phillips wouldn't be able to do in an other film like the Hangover trilogy or some of his other works. Ben-Hur looks terrible. Sounds terrible. Feel like I should just go watch the remake instead. Kubo and the Two Strings, that looks pretty good. That's probably my second most anticipated, between that and War Dogs. And Imperium, I haven't seen any marketing for that. I've just heard the plot described to me by the people over at Collider Movie Talk and Schmoes and all that, and it's like, okay, whatever. Daniel Radcliffe has done a good job with his career, choosing the right work and stuff, so I wish that Swiss Army Man was still in theaters, because I feel like I need to go see that. But so yeah, for me it's Kubo, War Dogs, followed closely by Kubo and the Two Strings. Those are the top 2 I'd like to see. Might see Imperium. Don't ever plan on seeing Ben-Hur. So, what are you guys seeing at the theaters this weekend? Let me know in the comments section below. And that'll do it for this episode of the Film Fanclub Show. Thanks a lot for joining me, guys. Let me know also in the comments section below what you think of the potential of doing a video version again of this show, and if it's worth the effort, if there's an audience there for it, if it's not, just let me know. And again, follow me on the various social media sites, subscribe to this YouTube channel, all that good stuff. Thanks a lot, guys. This has been the Film Fanclub Show. I'll see you next time.